Hello and welcome to La Rosa Reads. I'm Denise La Rosa, and today is the day, y'all, where I share with all of you lovelies my top 5 reads of the year. Let's talk books. It is my favorite time of the year. It is time for me to share with all of you my top 5 favorite reads. When I reflect upon this reading year, it's a mixed bag. I don't know what it was. Well, I do know what it was about my reading experience in 2020. I think just the outside circumstances, just the fact that I was reunited with my love for reading in 2020. There's something about it that was just so special and unique. And I have been trying so hard to recapture that feeling. 2021 was good. 2022, all right. 2023, a mixed bag. I just will never get that feeling again. And that's okay. I need to learn to embrace the fact that each year brings a new reading vibe, and I need to stop longing for days and years past and instead embrace the now and be satisfied with the experience. Now, with all of that said, I'm sharing with you the reads that just elicited so much joy, so much excitement, curiosity, smiles, tears, gasp, like clutching the pearls. It was a time for me, and I can't wait to share with you the books that had me feeling all the feels. Coming in at number 5 is a surprise. And when I tell you a surprise, I mean a surprise. It is The Second Ending. This author made her debut with this book. It was a book that was not on my radar. I just thought the cover was cute. I thought the title was clever. And I read the synopsis and thought, hey, let's give it a go. Picked that baby up and purchased it. And what was inside? Like, my goodness, I just cannot tell you how much I loved this book. We have 2 protagonists. The one is a 45-year-old wife and mother living the life of wealth, sending her youngest off to college and realizing, I don't know who I am. What do I do with myself? I'm an empty nester. I need to figure this out and find myself and find something to do. Now, she was also a prodigy from back in the 70s with her beautiful piano playing. And then she just kind of lost her way and was never quite in love with being a musician. It was something she was forced to do and was good at. We have Alexei Petrov, the other protagonist, who is like a prodigy in his own right. He is a young rising star, a young pianist who has this like the Voice type of vibe, piano reality show. It's a competition show, and he is the host. His producers think we can ramp up those ratings if we have you, Alexei, duel another type of pianist that would capture people's attention and is well known. And here comes our lovely female protagonist. I talk so much about this, and her name is failing me right now. Just look at some of my other videos. What you need to know is this book was so clever. There was like this comedy of errors vibe. There was wonderful writing and like storylines that connected to music and the love for music. So if you're a musician or a lover of music, that will speak to you. The characters, yes, it was funny. Yes, it was like they were silly and quirky, but there was also some deeply emotional moments that had some profound lines that I actually highlighted. I'm not a big annotator when I'm reading, but this book like really had some standout quotes, and I just loved it. That is my number 5 read of the year. This list really could have been dominated by the Black classics. That means the classics written by Black authors that I read this year. Like The whole top 5 could be those classics. They're classics for a reason. I do have 2, however, that really spoke to me in ways that I just could not let go. I had to put them in this top 5 list. The first one is coming in at number 4, and it's The Street, written by Ann Petrie. This is the first book by a Black woman to sell over 1 million copies. Why we don't hear more about Ann Petrie in schools and just out there in the world of literature, I will never know. What I do know is this book was gripping. This book was suspenseful. It was entertaining. I mean, it was a pretty chunky read, and I just found myself just reading, longing for the next page, because I knew what was to come was going to be even more exciting than what had happened prior. And it delivered in every way. We have a young Black woman who has a son. She and her husband end up separating because she was struggling to find a job. He was struggling to find a job. She finds a job working for a white family in Connecticut. They live in New York City. So that required her to live away from her son and husband for quite some time. Her husband becomes bitter, leaves her and their son. And so she's living at home with her father, who is like, Papa's a Rolling Stone. He's got women floating in and out, and they're living in the hood. And she's like, I have had enough of this life. I want to have a new life for my son and myself. And being with that white family, that wealthy family, had her shifting her priorities toward obtaining wealth, obtaining money. And that is what drove her in finding a place for her and her son. That's what drove her in trying to become a famous singer, trying to just constantly get ahead. And she was so immersed in that mindset that she wasn't paying attention to what was going on around her, including the needs of her son. Y'all. The end is one of my all-time favorite clutch the pearls ending. Y'all, if you haven't already, pick up The Street by Ann Petrie. You will not regret it. And then coming in at number 3 is going to be perhaps it is one of my all-time favorite romances. It is If Beale Street Could Talk by the legendary, masterful James Baldwin. We have 2 characters, young Black characters, a young man and a young woman who have been friends since childhood. It is such a tender, raw, and just real love story about a love that had always existed but continued to morph and metamorphosize into something different. And so these friends, one day, that's one of my favorite parts in the book, that one day when they realize we love each other more than friends. And so they fall in love in the truest, most romantic way, and quite innocent and clunky way. You know how young love is. And unfortunately, with both characters being Black, the story taking place, I believe it was in the 1960s, our male protagonist ends up being wrongfully accused of a crime and put behind bars. This sends his lover into a tailspin, not to mention the fact that she is with child. And so she and her family, who grew up helping to raise her man when they were friends growing up, they're on this quest to seek justice and to get him out of jail and with his family where he belongs. It is breathtaking. The film adaptation is stellar. I mean, stellar. It has won awards, and rightfully so. I tell you guys, if you haven't read this book, I hear a lot about The Fire This Time and other reads, of Giovanni's Room of James Baldwin. If Beale Street Could Talk needs to be talked about some more, check it out if you haven't already. We are winding down, and now we have the runner-up, number 2. My number 2 favorite read of 2023 is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is my first Kennedy Ryan read. I've heard that she is like the queen of romance. And when I tell y'all, she blew me away with this book. There are no words. There are no words. Here's the other thing about it. I typically listen to nonfiction audiobooks. I don't typically listen to fiction audiobooks. I don't know. I just like reading and holding the book. When it comes to nonfiction, I like the facts being spoken to me. But I knew I was going to be doing a lot of driving for work and traveling for work, and I just was in the mood for fun romance because I had listened to Kennedy Ryan's audiobook coming home. And I thought, if this reading experience of Before I Let Go is anything close to that one, it will be a success. You guys, it didn't only meet those expectations, it exceeded those expectations. We have a man and woman who met in college, fell madly in love, built a beautiful, wonderful life for themselves, having children, co-owning a restaurant called Grits that is super successful. And unfortunately, a tragedy, instead of that tragedy bringing them closer together, pulled them further apart, hence a divorce. But they have to co-parent. They have to run this restaurant. And so they are forced to and called to continue to do life together. It's just done in a different way. Will they find each other again romantically? What I love about this book is it was raw and real. It touched on loss. It touched on mental, emotional health. It touched on real issues laced with romance, and the narrators just brought it to life and made it so real. And the side characters were phenomenal. The friends, the other romantic interests were just great. The kids were like very much kids. And so everything just felt so real. I felt like these were real people and I was learning about their lives and I was cheering for them. I was crying with them. You got to check out Before I Let Go. There is a reason why Kennedy Ryan is such a success. And the time has come for me to share with all of you my number one favorite read of 2023. It is one that is so shocking. I just can't believe, like, this book was on my shelf for like a year and I didn't read it until recently. And then I was like, this book is going to forever live rent-free in my mind, and it is American Sirens. This story about the Black paramedics of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who became America's first paramedics, is a story that absolutely should be one that every single American and every single person around the world in the medical profession or interested in the medical profession should read about and know. This tells the story of the Freedom House EMS in the Hill District, of this doctor who is known as the father of CPR, and how he became so passionate about the need for us to enhance and really develop and then enhance and strengthen our emergency medical service to citizens is just spellbinding. And the way that the author gives us information while sharing narratives, it was like he has facts and true, like, and accounts, but he also has interlaced beautiful, poetic, lyrical writing. I was sobbing. I was weeping. I was beside myself by the end. I was literally on the airplane, like, doing one of those. It was that deeply moving. And for so many reasons. The obstacles that these 40 men faced with people who they would rather die than to have these experts, these really knowledgeable, skilled medical service providers touch them, was beyond my comprehension, beyond my emotional capacity. And the fact that Pittsburgh the city of Pittsburgh not only wasn't helpful in providing resources, but were actually responsible for creating the obstacles that prevented Freedom House EMS from expanding and moving forward, and then ultimately demolishing it is just beyond the scope of anything you could think of when it comes to the human experience. Like, can prejudice and political gain really cause us to not do what's best for humankind? We know the answer to that. And this story really makes it real for us to see the flaws in hatred and prejudice and bigotry. Oh my gosh. I live in the Pittsburgh area. My brother was a paramedic in the Pittsburgh area and is now a physician assistant. I am just so moved that I want students that I meet to know about this story. I have committed to getting this story out there. Read this book. If you read no other books that I mention on La Rosa Reads, this is the one that you have to pick up, whether it's the audiobook or the physical copy. Please, please, please do yourself a favor and do that. If you know anyone in your life that's in the medical field, regardless of where exactly in the field, what their profession is, if they're aspiring to be in the medical field, get this book in their hands. I want Oprah to get this book and make it her book club selection. Reese Witherspoon, somebody, where y'all at? Pick up this book. This book could be a Hidden Figures type of film. This book can easily be a film, and these men deserve to have their stories told. You guys, I am so moved by it. It is my #1 read, and you need to check it out. Okay, I was bringing on a lot of energy today because those reads just moved me and had me feeling all the feels. What are your favorite reads from this year? You know your girl wants to know. So journey on down to those comments and let me know. Sometimes I'm a little slow responding. That doesn't mean that I'm not reading them and thinking about you. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.